Okay, let's try and unpack this. Imagine a civilization, right? One that fundamentally believed the sun, the actual sun in the sky, source of all life, all warmth, needed daily sustenance.
Mm.
And not just any sustenance. We're talking about the most precious offering imaginable, human hearts.
Yeah, it's a powerful image, almost unfathomable from our modern viewpoint, isn't it?
It really is. So today we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating, complex, and, well, yes, often chilling world of the Aztecs, and specifically their most central deity, Huitzilopochtli.
And this isn't just about, digging up dusty history.
No, exactly. It's about peeling back the layers of a worldview that was just so profoundly different from ours, where life, death, the cosmos, they were all tangled together in ways that really challenge us today.
Absolutely.
So our mission today isn't just listing facts. It's about extracting those key insights, those aha moments that help explain why these practices mattered so deeply to the Aztecs.
Right. Getting to the why behind it all?
Oh, precisely. We'll be drawing from a whole range of sources.
Yeah.
Everything from, the vibrant pictograms and detailed stories in the Aztec codices
Those are incredible resources.
to the meticulous archaeological finds coming out of their ancient cities. And, of course, the mythological accounts, too, which are often dramatic, allegorical, but shape their whole identity.
It's a rich tapestry of evidence.
Think of this as your shortcut to really grasping the significance of Huitzilopochtli and the rituals around him, giving you that moment of understanding.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay, so to really set the stage, let's cast our minds back. Central Mexico, between the 14th and, say, the early 16th centuries.
The height of their power.
Exactly. This was the era of a formidable, really sophisticated civilization, the Aztecs, also known as the Mexica. That was their name for themselves in Nahuatl.
Nahuatl, right. The language they spoke. Still spoken today, actually.
Which is amazing. And they built this incredible empire, the Triple Alliance, centered on their capital, Tenochtitlan.
A city built on a lake. An engineering marvel. Canals, causeways. Incredible.
Just amazing. Their influence stretched far and wide.
Yeah.
And right at the heart of it all was this incredibly intricate religious system, their pantheon.
And it wasn't just abstract belief, was it?
Not at all. It was alive, totally interwoven with nature, the cosmos, daily life,
Yeah.
everything from farming cycles to political decisions. It touched everything.
And that brings us back to Huitzilopochtli.
Yeah.
Because what's truly striking here is how he wasn't just a god, one among many.
He stood out.
Oh, absolutely. He was arguably the linchpin, the cornerstone of the entire Aztec religious and political order. I mean, think about it. They had gods for rain, fertility, earth, sky, everything.
Huge pantheon.
Huge. But Huitzilopochtli, he carved out this preeminent position, the undisputed god of war, the sun, and crucially, the focal point for human sacrifice.
That connection was central.
Fundamental, defining. And it was a dual role, really. He was a core religious belief, inspiring intense devotion, but also a key part of their political structure, dictating expansion, control.
So belief and statecraft rolled into one.
Precisely. He wasn't just worshipped. For the Mexica, he was the reason for their existence as a people, the architect of their empire, the guarantor of their survival day to day.
Wow. So how did that connect to their view of the universe? You mentioned cycles earlier.
Right. To really grasp this, we need to understand their cosmic view. Their universe was all about cycles. A continuous, often precarious cosmic drama that needed ongoing sacrifice, both divine and human.
Divine sacrifice, too.
Yes, according to their myths. The current world, they called it the fifth sun, wasn't the first. It was the fifth try, after previous creations were destroyed. And each creation required the gods themselves to spill their own blood, even sacrifice themselves to get things going and keep them running.
So sacrifice was baked into creation itself.
Exactly. And the sun. In their cosmology, it wasn't just a distant star, it was alive, an extension of Huitzilopochtli himself, and its journey across the sky each day. That was this huge cosmic responsibility resting entirely on his strength.
And if he weakened?
The sun would falter, just like the previous suns had, apparently. Plunge the world into eternal darkness. For them, this wasn't a metaphor, it was literal, an existential threat.
Gosh, so the sun needed feeding.
Feeding,
Yep.
invigorating, and that sustenance could only come from the most potent energy source they knew, the sacred life force in human blood, specifically the heart.
So the sacrifices weren't random cruelty.
From their perspective, no, it was a sacred duty, a necessary transaction to keep the universe in motion, to prevent catastrophe, a cosmic responsibility.
Okay, that reframes it significantly. Now, you mentioned myths. Huitzilopochtli's own origin story, I heard, is pretty dramatic.
Oh, it is, and it tells us so much about their core beliefs. Every culture has these foundational myths, right, explaining their place in the cosmos. But Huitzilopochtli's is particularly violent, symbolic, and fascinating.
Even his name is interesting, right? Mosquito banner or hummingbird of the sack?
Exactly. It sounds almost paradoxical, doesn't it? Such a fearsome god of war and sun linked to a mosquito or a hummingbird.
Yeah, it seems small.
But maybe that's the point. It hints at layers of meaning, ubiquity maybe, or that even the smallest creature can hold immense power. It definitely sets the stage for a god who comes from unexpected origins.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell us the story.
Right. So the core myth involves his mother, Kotlikue. She's this ancient earth goddess, often shown wearing a skirt of snakes and necklace of human hearts and hands.
Wow, intense imagery. Creator and destroyer.
Exactly. The duality of life and death. The story goes that Kotlikue became pregnant, miraculously. A ball of hummingbird feathers, or maybe cotton, fell from the sky and touched her. An immaculate conception, essentially.
Okay, but that didn't go over well.
Not at all. It deeply offended her existing children. Her daughter, Koyosaki, the moon goddess.
The moon goddess, sister to the sun god to be.
Precisely. Her and her 400-plus brothers, the Sensenhutsnahua, the 400 Southerns, they saw this pregnancy as a huge dishonor, an unacceptable defilement of their mother.
400 brothers, that's a lot of angry siblings.
It emphasizes the scale of the opposition, right? And they weren't just annoyed, they were enraged. United in outrage, Koyosaki and her brothers plotted to kill their mother, Kotlikue, to erase this perceived disgrace.
Good heavens. So what happened?
Just as they were about to strike, the miracle. Huitzilopochtli burst forth from his mother's womb, but not as a baby.
No.
No. As a fully grown, fully armed warrior. Armor, fiery serpent weapon, this Yukotl, the turquoise serpent, an obsidian shield, ready for battle.
War and ready.
Literally. He immediately leaped to his mother's defense and attacked his siblings. Fierce, divine combat.
And he won.
Decisively. He vanquished them all, famously dismembered his sister, Koyosaki, and threw her body down Kotpek Serpent Mountain.
Dismembered his sister. Wow. So this raises a big question, like you said. What does a story like that tell us about a culture?
Right. It speaks volumes. It suggests a view where cosmic struggle is inherent, where divinely sanctioned violence can actually be creative, purifying, necessary to maintain order.
And they saw echoes of this in the real world.
Directly. A massive, amazing stone carving of Koyosaki's dismembered body was found right at the base of the Templo Mayor in Tenochtitlan.
The main temple.
The main temple. Place exactly where her body was said to have landed after being thrown from the mountain. A constant physical reminder of their god's foundational victory, the cosmic drama playing out.
Okay, so stepping back from the drama, what's the deeper meaning? This isn't just divine family squabble. It feels like an allegory.
Absolutely. It's a foundational allegory, a cosmic blueprint for the Aztecs.
How so?
Well, think about it. The myth vividly symbolizes the daily victory of the sun, Huitzilopochtli, over darkness, the moon, and stars Koyosaki and her brothers.
So every sunrise is a replay of that battle.
Exactly. Every dawn, Huitzilopochtli triumphs again, the eternal victor overcoming chaos, just like at his birth.
And that had implications beyond just explaining day and night.
Huge implications. It fundamentally validated the sacredness of war for the Aztecs. It wasn't just politics or conquest for them.
It was a divine mandate.
A cosmic imperative. Their military campaigns became an extension of Huitzilopochtli's own eternal fight against darkness and disorder. Taking captives wasn't just about prisoners, it was providing the fuel for their god's battle.
So the myth established him as the ultimate warrior?
And justified their own identity as warriors. As his chosen people, destined to fight for the sun, for the cosmos itself, warfare became a spiritual duty. It shaped their entire empire.
Okay, so let's build on that. How did this influence seep into everyday Aztec society, beyond the myths?
Well, Huitzilopochtli's influence wasn't just confined to stories, like you said. It permeated every layer of their society, shaped their identity right from the roots.
It was not just in the temples.
No, he was a living principle. Informing religious beliefs, dictating political structures, defining military strategies. The Aztecs didn't just believe in him, they saw themselves as his people. The chosen people, the Tonaliachen, House of the Sun.
Guardians of the Sun.
Exactly. Warrior guardians directly responsible for keeping that sun moving. And this wasn't just, a nice idea about themselves. It was the core driver behind their imperial expansion, their very continuity.
Yeah.
Their whole purpose was tied to sustaining him.
Right, and this deep dive really highlights that his importance wasn't just symbolic or mythological.
Yeah.
It was seen as critical for the empire's survival and expansion.
Absolutely critical.
This wasn't some abstract concept. It had direct, practical consequences, didn't it?
Day-to-day consequences. There was this clear, pragmatic link. They firmly believed they needed to offer war captives and sacrifice to continually replenish Huitzilopochtli's power.
To keep the sun rising?
Literally. To prevent cosmic collapse. So these rituals, they served multiple functions, all bolstering the empire.
Okay, like what?
Well, first, a very visible, awe-inspiring display of state power. A chilling message to their own people, but especially to conquered tribes or neighbors.
Seeing those rituals would certainly send the message.
A profound message of dominance and submission, discouraging rebellion. But also, these ceremonies were a powerful way to maintain social order internally.
How so?
By constantly reminding everyone of the cosmic stakes, the sun itself depends on this, and the hierarchy that governed their lives. It fostered a shared purpose, a discipline.
And for the rulers.
Huge religious legitimacy. The emperor, the high priests, they were the intermediaries, the ones who could perform the sacred acts keeping the universe balanced. Their power came directly from this cosmic role.
It sounds like a feedback loop. Expand, capture, sacrifice, gain divine favor, justify more expansion.
Exactly. A powerful, self-reinforcing loop. The more they expanded, the more captives. The more captives, the more sacrifices. The more sacrifices, the more power for Huitzilopochtli, they believed, and the more divinely justified their empire felt. It was an ingenious, if brutal, system. Belief and governance totally intertwined.
Okay, we have to address it directly. The aspect that draws the most attention and often the most misunderstanding, human sacrifice.
Right. It's unavoidable and jarring for us.
Definitely jarring. But, as you've been saying, to understand it, we have to try and see it from their perspective.
We have to. For them, it wasn't cruelty or barbarism. It was essential. A cosmic necessity.
For the continuation of the universe itself.
That's what they genuinely believed. It had that dual role. Connecting with the gods, offering life itself to maintain cosmic order.
And maintaining social order within the empire.
Exactly. Deeply religious, yes, but also profound statecraft, woven right into their political and social fabric.
So we need to try and suspend our modern judgment here.
If we want to understand, yes, because it was a carefully orchestrated, deeply ritualized act, not random violence.
Okay. So who are the victims, typically?
Primarily war captives, often elite warriors themselves taken from other tribes or cities they'd conquered.
So not usually their own people.
Generally not. Choosing captives reinforced their military and political dominance. And here's that intriguing detail that challenges our view. These individuals weren't always seen just as victims. Sometimes they were called the hand of the god, or god impersonators. They were believed to gain immense honor by participating in this vital cosmic act.
Honor? That's hard to reconcile.
It is, but they were seen as conduits, facilitating that essential flow of life force to the divine, playing a crucial role. In some cases, they were treated with great respect beforehand, feasted, adorned.
Prepared for the sacrifice.
Yes, for days, sometimes weeks.
And the location, you mentioned the Templo Mayor.
Yes, the main stage, you could say.
Okay.
Right at the summit of the Templo Mayor, that huge twin pyramid in Tenochtitlan, specifically on the side dedicated to Huitzilopochtli. His temple stood right next to Tlaloc, the rain god.
High above the city, visible to everyone.
A very stark public reminder of the god's power, the empire's might.
And the ritual itself, what did it involve?
It was precise, symbolic, designed to get that potent life force. The chest was open with a ceremonial obsidian knife, a tech paddle, razor sharp.
Obsidian volcanic glass.
Extremely sharp. The heart, often described as still warm, maybe even beating, was quickly removed, then offered to the god. Perhaps placed in a special stone vessel, a korsakali, before the idol.
This wasn't just physical, you're saying?
Deeply symbolic. Believed to directly feed the god's tonali his spiritual energy, literally invigorating Huitzilopochtli and through him, the sun.
And the body afterwards.
Also highly symbolic and very public, typically thrown down the steep temple steps, tumbling down that sacred mountain.
A dramatic visual.
Reinforcing that cycle of life and death, the world order maintained through this divine transaction. Often the bodies were then dismembered, Some parts, especially skulls, were displayed on a skull rack near the temple base.
A chilling display of the scale of it all.
Undeniably.
So this brings us back to the core question. Why blood? Why was it so central?
For the Aztecs, blood wasn't just biological. It was the fundamental energy, the animating force of the universe itself, the essence of tonality, life force, vitality.
So offering blood was offering life itself.
The most precious, most potent offering possible, absolutely crucial for cosmic balance. It was the currency needed for the sunrise, for life continuing, for satisfying the gods, for society's prosperity.
Especially from the heart.
The heart was seen as the center of that tonality, so sacrificing the heart, offering that blood, was the ultimate act, directly replenishing the divine energy that kept their world turning. It was profound reciprocity, in their view, mirroring the gods' own sacrifices at creation.
The sources show these weren't just occasional things, right? They were scheduled, detailed ceremonies.
Absolutely, not random at all, multi-layered, incredibly detailed, a testament to how significant they were.
Planned events?
Meticulously planned, often tied to specific times of the year, astrological alignments, major festivals, especially festivals for Huitzilopochtli.
Is there one key festival we should know about?
Yes, Ponquetzalisli. Roughly translates to raising of the banners. This was arguably the largest, grandest annual ritual for Huitzilopochtli, usually held around our December.
A major event.
Huge. The whole society focused on it. Elaborate preparations, warrior parades, making large effigies of the god from amaranth dough, a real sense of anticipation across the empire.
And you mentioned earlier how the victims were sometimes treated beforehand, especially for this festival.
Yes, that's what's so fascinating. It wasn't hidden away or done disrespectfully. Quite the opposite in some cases.
How so?
For certain sacrifices, maybe a particularly brave captive, they were treated with profound reverence, believed to be an ixipla, a god impersonator.
Embodying the god.
For a time, yes. It elevated their status, gave them a sacred quality. They'd be consecrated by priests, undergo rites, given the best food, dressed in special ceremonial clothes.
It's such a different mindset.
It really is. Some accounts suggest the Aztecs believed the victim understood their role, performed their duty peacefully, even happily, saw it as their essential contribution to the cosmos.
Accepting their fate for the greater good, in their view.
That seems to be the idea. It's a challenging insight, but powerful. Individual life viewed differently, perhaps, within the grand scheme of cosmic necessity and collective survival?
So, after all this preparation, the climax. The chest opened, the heart removed, presented.
The absolute apex of the ritual. Visually powerful, emotionally charged, spiritually profound.
More than just physical death.
A direct spiritual connection. A transfer of vital power, tonali, from human to God. That sacred blood literally giving life back to the gods, invigorating them, satisfying them.
Ensuring the cosmos keeps turning.
Every drop was a petition. For the sun to rise, crops to grow, the empire to flourish, the ultimate offering in their spiritual economy.
Let's connect this back to the bigger picture again. You said these were also political and social instruments.
Absolutely. Far more than just religious acts in isolation. Hugely powerful social and political tools, woven into the fabric of rule and expansion.
How did the victims play into that, being from conquered tribes?
Well, that served as a vivid, terrifying demonstration of the empire's military might. Imagine being an envoy from a subdued kingdom, forced to watch your own warriors sacrifice.
It would certainly underscore who's in charge.
Undeniably. Awe, submission, a powerful deterrent against rebellion, reinforcing the power dynamic with chilling clarity. It was political theater on a grand scale.
And within Aztec society itself.
It meticulously reinforced the social hierarchy. The high priests, the Tlatoani, the emperor presiding over these spectacles underscored their divine support, their authority.
Their connection to the gods, their ability to keep the universe running.
Exactly. Their power was literally tied to maintaining the cosmos. Which raises the question, how did this affect the warriors, the ones doing the capturing?
Right, the engine of the empire.
These rituals fueled their ideology, instilled the fervent belief they fought for a divine purpose, not just conquest. Every capture was a direct contribution to Huitzilopochtli's strength.
Making warfare a sacred duty.
Precisely. A flowery death in battle, taking captives for the sun god that was the highest honor. It gave profound spiritual meaning to their dangerous profession.
So thinking about the broader society, what does this all mean? These rituals were tools for social cohesion, control.
Both. Incredibly potent tools. Vital for governing such a vast, diverse empire.
How did they achieve that cohesion?
By instilling a shared fear and a collective respect. Fear of the consequences if the cosmic order failed sun stops rising, famine, chaos. And respect for the powerful gods and, crucially, for the rulers who maintain that order.
Fear and respect working together.
It fostered this remarkable unity and discipline. When everyone, from farmer to noble, truly believes the sun depends on these actions and that the leadership is sanctioned to perform them, it creates an incredibly strong social bond, even if partly based on cosmic dread.
It's a clear example of how belief systems can shape and govern a civilization.
A powerful example, keeping millions aligned toward a common, if bloody, purpose for centuries.
Now, this isn't all just based on texts and interpretations. Archaeology plays a huge role. The ground itself has evidence.
Definitive evidence. Chillingly direct and unambiguous, corroborating the written accounts.
What kind of finds?
Especially from the Templo Mayor excavations in modern Mexico City. Substantial human remains showing clear marks of these rituals.
Oh, that's like...
Clear obsidian knife marks on bones. Specific patterns of dismemberment. The way remains were deposited aligns precisely with the texts. And remember that Koisaki stone.
Huitzilopochtli's sister, found at the base of the temple steps.
Exactly where bodies were said to land. And beyond bones, the temple structures themselves, the relief carvings, they depict the rituals vividly. Hearts offered, gods demanding blood, bodies thrown down steps, stone records.
Bringing the text to life.
Tangibly.
Powerfully.
And what about the written sources? You mentioned codices and Spanish accounts.
Yes, they complement the archaeology beautifully, adding incredible detail and perspective. We have records from the Aztecs themselves, like the Codex Mendoza or the Codex Borgia.
What do they show? The Mendoza shows history, tribute, daily life, including sacrifice depictions. The Borgia is more ritualistic, cosmological, vividly showing the rites for different gods, including Huitzilopochtli, intricate pictograms, glyphs. Amazing detail from their perspective.
And the Spanish accounts, they must have been biased.
Often biased, yes,
Yeah.
condemning the practices as barbaric. But chroniclers like Bernal Diaz, who was with Cortez, or Friar Sahagún, who interviewed native informants extensively.
They still provide valuable information.
Invaluable first-hand observations and detailed descriptions that confirm many details from the codices and the digs. Even through their lens of condemnation, the facts often align.
So putting it all together, archaeology, codices, Spanish accounts.
The picture is clear. This was expensive, systematic, deeply integrated, not random or infrequent. It forces the conclusion that human sacrifice wasn't just a ritual. It was a fundamental cornerstone, political, military, spiritual, seen as absolutely crucial for connecting with the gods and ensuring the empire's survival. A complex web of belief, power, and existential need.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's just abundantly clear, isn't it? Huitzilopochtli, the sacrifices. These were foundational pillars for the Aztecs, impacting everything.
Everything. Spiritual beliefs, social structure, imperial ambitions. For centuries, this was the engine ensuring the sun rose, legitimizing rulers, fueling expansion.
Until the Spanish arrived, of course. A cataclysmic end, and a lasting shift in perspective.
A dramatic shift. These practices, so vital to the Aztecs, were immediately labeled savage, barbaric by the Europeans. A judgment that echoed through history, often obscuring the meaning for the Aztecs themselves.
But modern thinking tries to look beyond that judgment.
Exactly. Modern anthropology, history, they invite us to move beyond that ethnocentric labeling, to view these practices within the Aztecs' own complex context, their unique understanding of the universe.
Understanding their genuine fears, their logic.
Their profound existential concerns, that genuine belief. Without these offerings, the cosmos unravels, their world ceases to exist. And understanding how they built their entire society, economy, military, governance around these core beliefs.
It's a reminder that what seems shocking to us can be rational, necessary, even pious from another viewpoint.
Absolutely. It pushes us towards empathy, intellectual curiosity, rather than just imposing our values on the past.
So this deep dive into Huitzilopochtli and the Aztec cosmos, it leaves us with a really compelling thought, doesn't it? When we really try to strip away our modern preconceptions, our biases, and understand a belief system as radically different as this one, how might that challenge us? Challenge us to rethink what words like order and necessity truly mean in the grand cosmic scheme.
That's a profound question.
What stands out to you listening to this after our journey into the heart of the Aztec world? Something to think about.